Yeah.
Welcome back to KindaFunny's Sony Spider-Man universe in review, formerly known as the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters, and as of August 2021, Sony's Spider-Man universe. Of course, off the top, want to give a major shout out to both Carter Harrell and Cameron Kennedy, who yesterday morning I hit up and I'm like, guys, this is the most last minute thing I've ever asked you to do, but we got to get it done because this Venom, Let There Be Carnage deserves this masterpiece. And yeah, there's so much quality stuff in there. When you have time, go back and look. There's a lot of Easter eggs, a lot of fun stuff that they hid in there. So you're welcome, everybody. You're welcome. Specifically you, Kevin. I feel like you would enjoy that quite a bit.
I certainly did. I certainly did. That was something special. And I hope that we never see that intro again. Ever again.
Oh, we will. Morbius, baby. You can never forget, because this is KindaFunny's In Review, where each and every week we get together to rank and review different movie franchises. You can get it on youtube.com/KindaFunny or roosterteeth.com. If you want to listen to it as a podcast, just search your favorite podcast service for KindaFunny In Review, and we'll be right there for you. If you want to get the show ad-free, and if you want to watch live as we record it, you got to go to patreon.com/KindaFunny, and you'll be able to do just that, like our Patreon producers, Molecule and the KindaFunny Destiny 2 PC clan have done. Of course, I'm Tim Geddes, and we are joined by the one and only Nitro Rifle, Andy Cortez.
Hello, gamers.
We have the producer/seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Hello, Tim.
And the big dog, Kevin Coelho.
I warned you. I warned all of you. Every single one of you. And no one heeded my warning, and look where we are now.
We're here, baby. We're here. Not all of us, though. Greg Miller listened to you. He was just like, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to watch this fucking movie. No, the baby's on the way, so Greg didn't want to risk going to the theater this late in the game. So Greg Miller's going to be sitting this one out. But I see he's hanging out in the chat right now with everybody. He has not seen this movie, so he's going to experience this movie through us.
Oh, but I think he has seen this movie, Tim. I think he has. Maybe not this particular movie, but we've all seen movies of this ilk, if you will.
Now, just so everybody is clear about this, we are going to start off with spoiler-free thoughts about what we think about this movie. Then we will get into our spoiler-filled thoughts on the plot and etc., etc. All of that. We are talking about Venom, Let There Be Carnage, with a runtime of 1 hour and 37 minutes. Definitely makes this one of the shorter superhero movies we've gotten pretty much ever, honestly. They usually stick around at least 2 hours. Much appreciated. It was released on October 1st, 2021. It is currently at a 60% Rotten Tomato score and an 85% audience score of over 1,000 verified reviews.
Fucking shit.
This was directed by who? Nick Scarpino?
Oh, damn it. Why do I not know the answer to this?
Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis, that's what it was. Wait, I was trying to think of the guy that did the first one. Andy Serkis did
It's that Andy Serkis?
Oh, it's the Andy Serkis. You know him as Gollum. You know him as Snoke. You know him as many other things. He's also directed a couple different movies, including the Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle.
That's right. No one
there
watched
was
that one, right?
You know, he's what's his name? He's an MCU character, right?
He is. He's Claw.
Well, he
Claw,
was.
or was.
There,
All right,
there
Claw.
was no funnier moment than when the movie ended and up on the screen pops up, directed by Andy Serkis, and I look at Nick and I go, Andy Serkis, and he looks at me, he goes, told you. I laughed so uncontrollably hard.
Oh, man.
Was not done by Ludwig Göransson, which is kind of a letdown because he killed it the first time, always kills his stuff. They didn't even try to have Venom have his theme come back in this one. They're like, fuck it. We're getting Marco Beltrami, who is who, Nick?
The guy, you told me this. It was apparently the guy that did the music for Scream.
It is.
Which makes
James Williams'
sense.
favorite.
Because the movie starts and I'm like, oh, they're definitely going for more of a horror vibe here. Which I guess, I don't know if that was by design. If it's by design, this movie's coming out close to October. I'm not quite sure how the pandemic screwed any of this stuff up. But this starts and it has a very distinctively different tone that they're going for. I don't know if they hit that tone or not, but they're definitely trying to make this a little bit more a definitive tone. We'll just put it that way. They're trying to identify something in there. I'm not quite sure what though.
It had a budget of $110 million. Oh, sorry. I didn't want to leave music yet because this one, I know there was a lot of worry out there that it wasn't going to have a new Eminem song. It does.
Good.
It does. It's a Skylar Grey song featuring him. If I'm being honest, it's honestly not that bad. Like this one, a market improvement over the Eminem Venom theme songs that we've had. It had a budget of $110 million, and at the box office, it's killing the game right now, guys. Obviously, we don't have final numbers because the movie just came out, but Sony's Venom: Let There Be Carnage rang up a great $11.6 million Thursday night from showtimes that began at 4 p.m. at over 3,500 theaters. That's the second best we've seen during the pandemic after Black Widow that was at 13.2, which means this was even more than Shang-Chi and Fast 9. The most crazy impressive number about all this, though, is that this is even higher than the original Venom's debut back in 2018, and that was in a pre-pandemic time. So this is very, very impressive stuff for them. Then in terms of the Bechdel test, it's a measurement of the representation of women in fiction, asking whether a work features at least two women who speak to each other about something other than a man. I couldn't find any official readings of this, so we're going to have to work together on this. I think the answer is no.
No, I think it passes actually.
Oh, yeah?
I think she has a scene. She has a scene with Michelle Williams.
Who's Shriek.
Naomi. Yeah, Shriek.
Got
does.
it.
Naomi.
Does she?
Mhm. They have a couple scenes. She like
There's
kidnaps her.
But they're probably talking about what's his face.
I guess if it's kidnapping, you're right. She does kidnap her.
It's okay. We'll say it passes due to kidnapping.
But let's just add it just barely. Let's just add it just barely.
Just barely.
Oh no,
Just
I mean that is
barely.
the only scene. I just remember thinking, oh, there's
You're right, you're right. There's a
there's
kidnap
two
scene.
females on screen right now. And they're talking about each other.
Yeah.
And they're not talking about. I think the point of the scene was like revenge. I don't think it was anything specifically about a guy. So I think it passes, but I'm not quite sure. I could be wrong.
I'm realizing now Mrs. Chen also spoke to Anne.
Mrs.
Yes,
Chen.
you're right. You're right. But they're
there's
definitely
that.
talking about men, though, right?
You're right.
talking
You're
about
right.
Eddie.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
But well, actually, I mean, no spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers yet.
spoilers.
No spoilers yet, because right now we're going to give you our spoiler-free reviews on Venom: Let There Be Carnage. Do we recommend people go watch this in theaters? Kev, let's just get it out of the way. I want to start with you.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna not recommend you go watch this. That's it. That's all I want to say for now.
Nick Scarpino.
No, I don't think you have to rush out and see this movie in theaters. I would not recommend paying that price for it. I would recommend, if you are interested in watching this, watch it when it comes to streaming for free.
Andy Cortez.
If you have a significant other that you don't know how to break up with them, maybe watch this movie together and hope that they are chased
hit.
away. Yeah.
Or just leave them in the middle. Get halfway through, I'll be right back and go to the bathroom. Never come back. It's called the scorched earth breakup.
Tim?
I would not recommend watching this movie in theaters as well. I think that it's fine to watch in theaters. It's only an hour and a half, and it does go by quick enough. But I wouldn't recommend making a day of it and like making it into a whole thing. I do think that this movie is entertaining because it is fun to laugh at how bad it is, and some of it is legitimately actually funny. But I think for the most part, I was entertained by this. I don't think that this is in one of those like this is fucking trash and one of the worst things I've ever seen. It is like wow, this is not good, and I can't believe that we, in the year of our Lord 2021, we're still putting out this level of quality. Like it's kind of bizarre. But to give it I don't want to say compliment, but just to give it an analog, this reminds me a lot of a like 90s superhero cartoon show. Like if they were to take a couple episode arc and just turn it into a movie, and they just were like, yeah, we're going to commit to it, and it's going to be Venom vs. Carnage, and the plot is just going to be barreling forward. Like there is never going to be a moment that you allow yourself to ask what's happening, because they're just like, they're not even explaining it. They're just kind of like, we're here now, we're doing this, we're there now, we're doing that, and blah, blah, blah.
You can breathe, you can think, just keep moving.
Don't let him breathe. Don't let him breathe. But one of my favorite things of the first movie was the Eddie and Venom kind of relationship. And I love the direction that they drove it into the ground in this one.
Yeah.
This is as much a like rom-com as the first one was like a buddy cop, and I didn't expect that angle, and it brought me a lot of giggles. I loved watching this movie next to Andy Cortez because me and him were just having moments left and right where it would just constantly just be like, oh no, they're doing this, and they just kept doing it, baby. But yeah, that is about as much as we can say spoiler free. So everybody, if you care, leave now because we're about to get into full-on spoilers.
You shouldn't care.
Let's go with the spoiler thoughts. I want to get it out real quick. That post-credit. These motherfucking madmen. They're just like, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to do it. For people that don't know, Venom is now officially in the MCU, in the universe. He knows Tom Holland's face, and he's going to lick it, guys. He's going to lick it. It's going to get real
and
wet.
I just want to make this clear. This is everyone's fault who went to watch the movie and was like, oh, it's not that bad. The first one. This is all of your faults. And I hope that you're upset at yourself because you did something horrible.
I was struck with a lot of fear, Kevin, upon seeing that.
I got your text.
It was like disbelief, and I didn't think that they would do it. But it really, truly just feels like the psychopaths at Sony are just doing. Like, I would love a world where they're doing this without any permission.
I was gonna say, you think Kevin Feige got a call and he's like, they did what?
They what? What? They put Tom Holland and they got fucking J. Jonah Jameson for like. Are you kidding me? I was so saddened by that because I hope it doesn't come to fruition, but this movie's gonna make a lot of money and they'll figure out a way. And my hope is, if I want to be glass half full with this, that Kevin Feige and the people over at Marvel and running the MCU kind of treat it in a way that makes the movie better and more enjoyable. Because I know Tim enjoyed it because it was bad, and I wanted to be there. I wanted to like really dig it because it's bad. We like a lot of bad movies here at KindaFunny. We the Nick Scarpino 3-finger scale. Fucking good movie, a good bad movie, and a bad movie.
Yeah.
I wanted this to be fun and like laugh along, but I felt embarrassed to be there. And like I constantly caught myself looking at the screen like, oh man, this is painful to watch. And so many sequences and lines of dialogue that just don't match up, and characters do stuff that just is so unbelievable. Not talking about like taking an alien symbiote and turning into a monster. That's not the unbelievable shit. It's just the way that they react to certain lines. The writing was so all over the place. It was a mess. I fucking hated this movie so much.
Even the sort of impetus, the catalyst for how this whole movie kicks off, which by the way happens way too late in the movie. We don't see Carnage until like maybe like what 25 minutes before the movie's done.
He does like nothing in this movie. It's kind of miraculous.
I mean, there is nothing. It's a lot of Tom Hardy talking to himself. And like even that, like Andy, if we're talking about like how characters, the dumb decisions characters make, I mean, just the fact that whole situation, how he becomes Carnage, is ridiculous. But
the whole time, Nick, I'm like, oh, I thought he was
Carnage the whole time.
Carnage at the jail in the end credit of the last movie. I thought he just said the word Carnage.
Yeah, he just said Carnage.
Got it.
It's not even that. It's that this movie just is not fun. It's just not fun to watch. It's cringy at parts. The action's very, very. Some of the action was loud. That's the best that can be said for that. And you just don't really care about the characters. Not only that, but we're 35 minutes into this. I'm like, I want this movie to end. I am not having fun. I do not like every time they go back and forth with Tom Hardy and Venom as this like B story, like rom-com where he's like, well, like the will they, won't they? I'm like, I don't like this. I feel like it's fundamentally flawed from just the conception of what this relationship is supposed to be.
I need to rewatch it with subtitles. It was hard to understand.
Oh yeah, you were like, "What's he saying?" I was like, "I don't know. It doesn't matter." But Venom going to a rave by himself was the weirdest thing that I could think anyone. I mean, all of this kind of smacks with like, I need to write this script and I have 24 hours to write it, so I wrote it and they just immediately went into production because no one stopped and thought, "Wait, he's gonna go to a fucking rave." And like they're gonna put glow sticks on his neck.
At least he didn't rap.
Venom.
Oh, Nick, we thought he was gonna rap.
Oh my god, I got so scared. See, that's the thing. I think that's the thing because like Tim, what you're saying about it being like so bad that it's kind of entertaining to watch, like they hold back on certain moments like that. Like if I think it would be one of those so bad it's entertaining movies, they would have rapped. And look, I'm very happy they didn't rap. Very, very happy. But it's just like this movie, I feel like is so half-assed. I hate it, and there's so many moments.
What are you doing, Eddie? I'm just hanging around.
He did it. He said it.
Like
But I mean, it really does. Like, it really does. I think Tim said it right. You said it was a cartoon, but this reminds me of movies that major studios, made in the late '80s or mid to late '90s, where they just no one making the movie had any idea of what a superhero movie should be, and that's why this is kind of insulting because you're like, have you not seen any of the 23 Marvel movies or the X-Men movies that came before this? Like, we didn't learn any lessons from any of these things, Sony. I just don't understand how someone reads the first draft for Venom 1 and goes, yeah, let's put this into the production. I can't. The only thing I can think of is they just need the money, and they have these characters and they just want to make money off of them, and they know that they will. And at a certain point, I mean, I can't argue with it because we went and saw it because we have to, but it's just disappointing.
We didn't have to.
It's disappointing that Sony keeps making enough money on these to wedge their way into the MCU. And it's also like, I just don't understand why they just can't let Marvel make the movies and just take a cut of it. I know the profit margin would be way lower, but for Christ's sake, like, you don't see the writing on the wall. This is not a long-term strategy that's sustainable. This is a Band-Aid.
How many of those scenes was Tom Hardy improving and like not with a script?
I mean,
there seemed like there was a lot of moments where he's just talking because he needs to get to the next story beat. It was pretty painful throughout, and I wanted to have that energy with Tim. I wanted to like be laughing and being like, "Fuck yeah, this is horrible, let's go!" But like, I just couldn't. It was really tough to go all the way through.
I disagree with Kevin when it comes to the half-ass thing, because I feel they went full-ass with it, and I just feel like a lot of things they went full-ass on are stuff that I'm not necessarily interested in. It was a lot of stuff I didn't like about the first Venom, where the action scenes are just incomprehensible nonsense of just goo fighting goo, and it's just not fun to watch at all. And just like the villains, all of them, Shriek just fucking sucks. And then whatever even happens with this detective character. It's just like,
Tim, that's a character called Toxin, which is Carnage's kid. So be excited for Venom 3 now with Toxin.
And that's the thing. It's like I find it comical that they're just gonna triple down into like, okay, what's the next bad guy gonna be? Just another symbiote, just another color. Like next, I can imagine the trailer for the next one. Like, oh shit, it's a green one. Like, it's like, all right,
that was a good Venom.
Tim,
that was a good Venom.
That was a great Venom. But you better hope so, because if it's oh shit, it's Spider-Man, then that's gonna be the collision of worlds we didn't want.
Well, I mean, no, it doesn't. To Nick's point of like, why can't they do a profit sharing thing? The truth is they have tried that, and they are doing that with Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
So well, Homecoming and the issue is, and it's become very clear to all of us, they're not making the money they want on that. Because remember, they had to renegotiate with Disney, and that's when everything kind of fell apart, and we were unclear if we were getting this third Spider-Man movie, because the negotiations went south. And from the rumors, like, it's because Disney wants to give them very limited like percentage of what they make. And that makes sense. But like, I think part of the problem is Disney has to play ball a little bit better. And it's like, you don't own this IP. So like, you got to pay a good chunk to either try and buy it or pay a good chunk so that you can utilize it and stop letting them do this. Cause it's like this, honestly, it's sad that this is the Venom that we get. That's the Carnage story that we get. Cause it's like, obviously the MCU would do a better job, like, because of this stuff. Like, I don't like, are we ever gonna get a Green Goblin? You know,
I guess we're at a point, Kevin, where like I am so sad that these versions of the heroes are kind of like it's hard for me to turn my brain off and not care about a movie when it is so closely related to things we really do care about, and we love those movies, and we love like 90% of those movies, you know? And so it's different for me when I'm in a theater and The Rock looks at Vin Diesel and says the dumbest one-liner and we go, oh, that was awful, I love it, fuck yeah. But when Woody Harrelson just says, let there be carnage. And he's got the worst. Is it a wig? I don't know. Wig in out with Scarpino.
I'm gonna stop you right there. Yeah, that's a wig. And
Holy
not only was it
fuck.
a wig,
I mean, we
it
know
was-
that obviously, but God.
It was 2 wigs because he starts with a different wig, and then when he becomes Carnage, he leaves with like a rockabilly, like shaved on the sides.
It was
kinda
like a
combed
dead animal
forward.
on his head.
It was terrible. And again, this is no disrespect.
I like
to
this
any-
shirt.
Oh god.
I also like this shirt. He looks very comfortable.
Here's the thing. Woody Harrelson, I think, doing a bang up job as
No.
given what he was
No,
given.
no. Woody
I love
Harrelson
Woody
half-assed this very much.
No, I thought he was creepy
I
as
do not
shit.
blame him. I do not blame him.
I blame him. I blame him a
no,
lot.
He looked at the production. He saw Tom Hardy's acting. Was like, oh, okay, this is not one of these. We don't have to be serious on this one.
Yeah,
we don't
we're
have
not
to try.
taking this serious.
Yeah.
Because Tom Hardy was, I think, worse than he was in the last one by a lot.
Yeah.
They tripled down on it. I fucking loved it. It's ridiculous. And I think that they didn't do
that's
that with Cletus
terrible.
Cassidy.
I
at
love
all.
that moment when he goes, Mrs. Chen, you're a blackmailer. Like, what is he doing on screen, man?
I don't know. It's
Laugh, Andy. We both laughed hard at that.
I know, but like,
but
God.
you shouldn't. But I mean, that's.
But
the
I
thing.
want to
It's like-
laugh at stuff that's genuinely funny when it comes to movies that are so close to the, like, if this is fucking Blank Man and has nothing to do with the MCU, fantastic. But the fact that like this is a villain that we are acutely aware of that is so related to what we know already, it's really, really hard to not feel disappointed, to be like, this is the version we're getting. Damn, dude. Like, can you reboot it? Can you maybe like do it?
They're going to. That's kind of my thing. Is like,
Can we
obviously-
Suicide Squad this with
Yes.
James Gunn? You know,
Absolutely. Like, here's the thing with this is not what I want for Venom. Clearly, obviously, nobody should want this, but this is what we have. And where we're at with the MCU now, especially with this multiverse stuff, like they're gonna make. I mean, at this point, all the X-Men movies, all the Spider-Man movies, all the Fantastic Four, Daredevil, they're all canon to the multiverse. So is Venom. It's like, that's fine, whatever. There's still the MCU movies. We know the quality that we can expect from what the actual MCU movies are. The Kevin Feige produced Marvel Studios movies are different. And that includes Homecoming and Far From Home, and now the upcoming No Way Home. And with this post-credit scene of them, like, bizarrely putting Venom into the MCU, like, I love that this is now like the 3rd or 4th multiverse breaking thing we've seen between Loki, What If, WandaVision, and even the trailer for No Way Home with Doctor Strange doing the spell. Now we just have this random like flash of yellow light that has like the worst setup ever of Venom being like, I'm going to show you a second of what I've went through. It's like, what? Okay. And he's like, wait, I didn't do that. And it's like, cool. So now they're in the MCU, and it's like, I guess that makes sense. There's also Into the Spider-Verse that has the similar type of like the room around
Dimensions,
it, like
yeah.
freaking out and like pulling people into different dimensions. Like, there's just so much shit going on that I am interested in what this actually means from the Marvel Studio side of things, because I think that Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios can take this Venom character, take this Eddie Brock character, and make them interesting enough. I don't think that they're necessarily
this.
going to lead a thing, but like, I do think that I mean, look what they did to Thor. They had this fucked up character that no one cared about, and they made him interesting by Ragnarok, and now we all love him. Like, I think that they can do that with Venom, especially they can retcon whatever they want. Like, with the way this movie ends with the post credits, sure, they tease a bunch of shit with toxin, God knows what else that no one cares about, but it's like they could just take this character, put him in, and they'd never deal with that universe again. Good fucking riddance. Bye, Dan. Bye, Anne. We don't need you.
I mean, I'm with you, Tim, and I think obviously, like,
Dan.
when you start talking about like Tom Hardy, obviously Tom Hardy is an amazing actor, and the Venom character, you could tell a cool story with that. I mean, if you have those two, and those are the only two things that you bring back into the MCU, I agree. I think you can make something awesome with that. But you do have to put in this character. You have to do what they did with Michael Keaton, right? Where you make a mildly sympathetic character, but he's doing bad things, and that you have to find an interesting take on it. And I think they absolutely can, but they just have to not be bogged down with the same thing that a lot of the X-Men movies were bogged down, where it's like, well, we gotta be married to canon, we gotta be married to what came beforehand, and it's like, no, you don't. We can just throw all that out. Everyone gets it now. Write a press release, that just says this. Yeah, we know. And then that's it. That's all the press release has to say. And it's kind of funny.
Yeah, and here's the thing: like, I don't want to say that the movie can't be goofy. God knows I love like my favorite MCU movies always kind of lean heavily into humor. Thor Ragnarok is my number one. I love the Guardians movies. I love their style of humor, and it makes me laugh all the time. So like, I don't think the movie has to be this super serious like horror movie or anything like that. It's just like the wrong people are working on this, and I wish that they had the mood and the tone set better. I wish they went into it with a bit more of a plan as opposed to kind of letting Tom Hardy just go off the cuff. And Tom Hardy's a fantastic actor, like Nick was saying. This dude's been nominated for a lot of awards in his acting career. Like, he's really damn good. But I just don't know what the angle is they're taking with it at all. It just seems really, really off.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I would disagree with you though. Like, I don't know that you can make or should make a goofy Venom movie, especially if you're going to make Venom look and sound and act the way he does, because a lot of that is at contrast with itself. Like, it's at conflict with itself, rather, right? If you've got a character that's designed to be as scary as the original, like, H.R. Giger alien character, and it's saying goofy shit with glow sticks wrapped around its neck, it's confusing to say the least.
Yeah,
the
you don't
audience,
got to
like,
go that
what
hard
are you
into
going for here? You know, to have Spider-Man at a rave, that makes more sense because he's a happy-go-lucky character, and it's a different tone as far as that's concerned. But like that's what I'm saying. Like, just from the inception of this idea, it has just been so off base as to what they could do to make this something watchable.
I think if the right writers take any of the premises from the last two movies and write good dialogue that makes sense while also heartwarming and heartfelt and funny when it needs to be. Like, I don't think they have to be as goofy with it. But if the right cast and crew can get together and redo these movies, like, still beat for beat, but just with better dialogue and maybe like
My thing
less
is, like, though,
cringe acting, you know?
do we need standalone Venom movies? And does Venom need to be the protagonist? He's better as an antagonist. Like, why do we have to do that? Why not just make Tom Hardy a bad guy in the MCU? Does he have to be a good guy? I don't know.
I mean, he's gonna be a good guy, but like,
Why? Venom's not a good guy in the comic book run, right?
Oh, no.
He is.
So, yeah, but Eddie Brock isn't. Venom, he later gets with what? Flash Thompson and becomes
there's 10 billion different storylines,
Sure.
but at the end of the day, Venom more often than not ends up a good guy, like fighting alongside the heroes with them. And like, again, it takes a lot to get there, but the fact of the matter is Sony needs to make money. That's why there are standalone Venom movies. That's why it takes place in San Francisco and not New York. That's why there's a lot of shit that they have to make their own universe. But now they can leave that universe behind if they wanted to, and Venom could just be in the MCU, and that could be a good thing.
Yeah, but like, no, it's not going to. That character that they've created sucks. Like, if they use that as a jumping off point to introduce symbiotes or to like infect, like creating symbiotes in the MCU proper, like good. But like, I don't know that they can redeem that character. Like, I understand we're talking about Thor wasn't a great movie. It wasn't this though. It was never this. It wasn't the first Venom movie either. It was a step above, like much higher than both those movies.
Yeah. I'm interested in the direction they take it, because even with the post-credit scene, it's like, it timeline wise, like that's at the end of Far From Home. So it's like, what is even causing it? Like, is it whatever's happening in No Way Home? Like, is when we get Green Goblin and Doc Ock and all that stuff, like, are they coming in earlier, like before Doctor Strange does the spell? Like, I don't know. All this stuff got me interested. It got me asking questions, and I'm sure that there is a plan. Who is in charge of this plan? Who is involved in this plan? Yeah. That's a different question.
Yeah.
Andy Cortez.
That's what we need. We need like the right people in charge. And I love in our Patreon chat, if you are a patron, you can watch live with us. And Rocket Guardian says, put Venom in the next Deadpool movie. That could completely work for me. If the writing is good enough and with the right minds behind it, and the dialogue is something that makes sense and is good and funny, that could work. Like, we love the Deadpool movies. I think they're great, and I just don't think the right people are working on these or writing jokes for these, because I think maybe 2 jokes actually hit for me in all of the stuff, and the final joke is like, fuck this guy, and he bites the dude's head off, and like, that's funny, but that doesn't take a fucking genius to write something like that. You know what I mean?
I just wanted to say that, like, it's interesting that like the post-credit scene was setting up, I think, the most interesting thing that we've seen with Venom so far, or the mid-credit scene, where Venom's like, let me show you the symbiote homeworld, let me give you a little glimpse of like my past. And it's like, that was the only moment like in the whole movie that I was like, oh, this is interesting. Let me get close and see what's going on. And that's when we get that switcheroo. And then immediately I'm hit with like so many negative emotions.
Because I'm like, wait a minute, was him going into his brain to show Eddie that moment? Did that cause that terror in the universe?
It was very unclear. And like, I don't know
why it was clear because Venom immediately says, I didn't do that.
Yeah,
but like,
and it's like, then why did you even bring
why
that
set it up that way?
Why set it up?
Why?
Why not just have him do it? But like, I don't know what happened. And then you see the TV, and then people go, and then everyone's Tim goes, oh, it's because there's a terror in the multiverse. Because everyone's got a Tim that goes to these movies.
No, dude, guys, like when we were watching this post-credit scene, I was like watching it, and I'm intent, just like Kevin been telling me, like, what are they about to do right now? And the flash happens. I'm like, oh, that's weird. I was like, did they just do some multiverse shit, or are they in Venom's homeworld? Because that's what they literally did just set up. And Venom's like, I didn't do that. And I heard J.K. Simmons' voice, and like, I just assumed that it was going to be exactly what it was, which was the fucking clip from the end of Far From Home. And I looked at Andy, and I'm just like, oh no, not like this. They're fucking doing it. It's not even new footage. It's not even new J.K. Simmons or new Tom Holland.
No, it's the same clip. I do want to add that, like, the possibility of all of this somehow being connected to the Spider-Verse movie, like, is that a possibility? Because that's also Sony, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
like
that's what they're doing, yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is like that, you know, the Spider-Verse, obviously they have that giant explosion that causes stuff to start mixing over. Like, what if it's connected to that? That would be really cool. That would be really interesting. I fucking hate Venom, and I hope they end that series. Like, it would be really cool if in one of these movies, Venom just gets obliterated. Just things are too loud.
It's hard for me to kind of focus on a lot of the things I didn't like because I always forget the scene that just happened, and I'm already mad at the current scene. But while watching it, I was so confused by what was happening and what the motivations were for the actors. In the sequence when Eddie Brock and Michelle Williams sit down and she shows him her ring that she got proposed by Dan, and I am so confused by what the direction was there for the actors and the writing as well, for her to just suddenly be like, I want you to be happy for me. And I'm like, wait, he's not even acting that mad. Like, I was so confused by a lot of that sequence. And Kevin's confusion right there kind of makes me feel like I have an ally in this, because that's one of the scenes that like you can kind of forget because you focus on the other major dumb bullshit. But there's a lot of little sequences like that with characters that you forget are just so poorly written and poorly acted and thought out. And yeah, I just that sequence really bothered the hell out of me.
Andy, like, you're so right. Like that whole setup, like, they haven't seen each other since the end of the first one. She's been staying away from him. So she decides to like hit him up so that they can meet and talk, so that she can tell him like, oh, hey, I'm getting engaged. Like, I mean, they're not that close.
That makes sense. Well,
I think that makes so much sense.
Engaged. It's a nice thing to do. Like, you don't want the person to find out like via the internet
post?
that you got. Yeah,
it was her defensiveness.
She gets mad so quick.
She gets mad so quick and easily, and I was like, "What's going on here?"
Him being upset about it is a totally normal thing. Also, I like rewatching it. Venom 1. I didn't realize how much I did enjoy Dan and how like his kooky little positiveness is cool. Like that was an interesting take that I hadn't thought about before. That like this new boyfriend character isn't an asshole, and then they threw that away. Every scene that we get with him, he's being a dick towards people.
Here's my thing, though. I'm not saying that I love the scene, but I think that it works because there's this alien creature in Tom Hardy's head. Like, that to me is the one thing that every time he's acting weird, it's because there is not just a voice in his head, there is this crazy Venom voice in his head. And for her to get mad at him, especially because she knows how he acted with Venom, she can see it. So she's mad at him for lying to him about Venom not being in there. Like, that whole scene added up to me. Like, I think it makes sense within the world that they're in.
I just thought it was terribly acted. I did not know what their direction just seemed kind of all over the place. And I feel like it was also poorly edited because maybe some lines of dialogue were kept out because they had to keep it a tight 90.
That tight 90, baby. Let me tell you about our sponsors.
This podcast is brought to you by MeUndies. Are you afraid of the glow in the dark? Well, shield your eyes because the new MeUndies Halloween just dropped dead. get it because there's new Halloween MeUndies out. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm Greg Miller and I'm the king of Halloween and I love my MeUndies. Of course, they're the only underwear I wear and I'm always happy throughout the year when I get to my candy corn MeUndies. I've had those for a long time and I like them quite a bit, but now they got new Halloween prints. You don't have to do that. MeUndies are made from natural fibers sourced from beechwood trees, making their micromodal fabric soft, breathable, and dangerously cozy. Get your spooky season up and haunting with 5 new prints: I See You, and that's EYE, My Boo, Tricks and Treats, Lazy Bones, and Lazy Pumpkin. Available in undies, bralettes, socks, and loungewear in sizes XS through 4XL. There are a lot of options to consider, but make a decision quickly because there's somebody right behind you. To get 15% off your first order and free shipping and a 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/morning. That's MeUndies.com/morning. Our other sponsor of the day, why, it's Quip, ladies and gentlemen. When's the last time you got rewarded for brushing your teeth? With Quip's smart electric toothbrush, good habits can earn great perks like free products, gift cards, and more. The Quip Smart Brush for adults and kids connects to the Quip app with Bluetooth. Track when and how well you brush, get tips and coaching to improve your habits, earn points for daily brushing and bonus points for completing challenges like streaks, redeem for rewards like free products, gift cards, and discounts from Quip and its partners. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Greg Miller and I use this toothbrush. It's very simple. I have the all black one. It syncs up with my phone. It tells me how much, and then I get to redeem it all the time for free gift cards. And they make you brush a long time to do it, but you do get it in the end, which I appreciate. Start getting rewards for brushing your teeth today. Go to getquip.com/kindafunny, all one word, right now to save $10 on a Quip Smart Electric Toothbrush. That's $10 off a smart electric toothbrush at getquip.com/kindafunny, GETQUIP.com/kindafunny. Quip, the good habits company.
And now, let's get to the plot.
Do we know the plot?
I mean, we're gonna try to do the plot. Do you want to hit us with the plot song?
It's 90 minutes. We'll knock it out.
Well, I forgot what I did last time.
Plot.
Oh yeah, it is now time for the plot.
It's fine.
Nick is gonna say the plot. Nick is gonna say the plot. Tell us the plot.
Plot. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. We're going to start in the year 1996. Was the year Kevin was born, if I'm not mistaken.
Nope, 6 years off. 6 years off.
We're over in a Saint Estee, I think is what it's called.
But that is the year you started high school.
That is the year I got my driver's license, actually. I was a sophomore in high school at that point. 1996, 16 years old.
That's right, in 98. Yeah. That's right, 98.
Yeah, got the old Honda, four-cylinder Honda Civic, little 404 gear. Could barely make it up the hill. Terrible.
Good gas mileage.
Idea. Great gas mileage, actually. We're going over there and we meet our 2 main characters here, right? We meet Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and Moneypenny, and they're estranged lovers who are somehow.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
Harris. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow, they made it fucked up. Yeah, that's crazy.
Hey man, she's got 2. Think about this though. She's got 2 movies coming out a week apart from each other.
Yeah,
isn't that wild?
Very cool.
Good for her. It? Naomi Harris plays Moneypenny and James Bond. She plays Eve.
To me, I was just like, oh, she's the girl from Pirates of the Caribbean with the black.
That adds up more. Callisto.
Yeah.
Yeah,
cool. Yeah. Didn't realize that. Anyway, they're lovers, right? And he's making her a little ring, and he put the thing through the thing. He's like, they're never gonna take her away from me. They're angel,
my son,
or whatever. And then they just immediately take her away. Of course, Lieutenant Mulligan, who this is very confusing to me because Andy was like, "Is that Donnie Wahlberg?" And I was like, "Yes,
looks like
100%."
Is it not Danny Wahlberg?
It is not Danny Wahlberg.
It's one of the other Wahlbergs. Surely, surely it's a Wahlberg.
He's British, ladies and gentlemen. He was in the movie Snatch. Yes, his name
is Snatch is good.
Stephen Graham plays Detective Mulligan. Now,
is he the friend? He's the friend, right? In Snatch,
he's the one that says 2 minutes, tickish, and he's like, "You said 2 minutes, 3 minutes ago." He's like, 5 minutes, tickish. I could be wrong. That might not be him, but I think he's in that scene. Anyway, his last name is Mulligan, and here's the really confusing part. I get Michelle Williams and Carey Mulligan confused all the time, and this is not helping me. Anyway, they take Screech away. That's her name, Frances Barrison away, and she's like, Shriek.
Screech powers.
And they also, at the same time, allude to mutants, right?
They do. They're like,
they're like,
you're right.
They say mutation, and they're taking me away where they have more of us. Is essentially what they say. Yes. And it's like, not like this. Not like this, guys.
And this
Don't-
this is what kind of made me think that Carnage was always Carnage, because I thought, oh yeah, these people with different powers in a facility, and he wasn't Carnage the whole time. He was just he was a murderer.
No, he's just a murderer. Of
Serial
course,
killer.
on the way to Ravencroft, which I thought I was like, oh, cool, it's gonna be Professor X's house. Nah, dude, this is come on,
Just-
bro. What are you thinking? That'd be way too cool right now.
Ravencroft's a place, though, right?
Yeah, it's in the at least it was in the cartoons that I watched.
Yeah, totally.
So on the way there, of course, she uses her Screech powers and pops one of then Officer Mulligan's left eardrum, and he shoots her in the eye for it, and she goes down for the count. And he thinks he killed her, but he's not quite sure because she ends up, of course, she's not dead. Spoilers: she winds up in Ravencroft, but that doesn't matter because we're going to catch up to present day.
Wait,
where
before
Eddie-
that, we get the title splash.
right?
And it sucked. It was so just uneventful. And it's like we see this like really bad action scene of Shriek screaming and the gunshot, and it's really not fun to watch. And it just goes, Venom, let there be God. It's like, oh my God. Like these opening minutes really set the tone for like the vibe that Andy Serkis was going for, and it was not working.
Yeah, when we're sitting there and the opening movie is supposed to grab you in a way that's supposed to say, get ready for this. And I hear Tim giggling at the bad decisions being made by everybody on board. Yeah, it's you're in for a pretty bad time, and we had a pretty bad time. At least I did.
Of course, she gets taken over to Ravencroft. We meet a young scientist who is going to get cool white hair later, and I don't know her name because she's only in a couple scenes, so she's very far down on the cast list. But she does a bang up job here too, being ominous and scary. And they put her in one of those like deprivation tanks where you can't hear anything. Then we cut back over to present day. Mulligan is now a detective, and he calls up old Eddie Brock. And this is the point where Andy was like, "Is that Donnie Wahlberg?" And just for the rest of the movie, for the rest of this plot synopsis, he can be whatever you want him to be, Andy.
I wanted to be Donnie Wahlberg.
Nick
I
looked at
wanted
me
to
and
be
went,
that one.
I think Donnie's taller.
Yeah,
That's what we left it
that
at.
was it. We left it. What's up?
Did you guys know right away that was the same guy?
No.
I saw Mulligan
Okay.
and then I saw Mulligan because they did the thing where they're like,
Oh,
hey,
they show the name?
pay attention, and it's Mulligan, and then they showed him he had an ocular implant in his ear, and I was like, oh, it's
Yeah.
him later because he got he had that accident with his
For
ear.
me, that was
I-
like a whoa twist.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That was for me. I didn't notice that either. And when that happens, I was like, "Oh, these fuckers got me." I didn't.
They're
I didn't-
creative.
I didn't,
They did
put
it.
1 and 2 together. But
did
also
a good
at
job.
that point, I was desperate for anything to like wow me.
Anything fun. I think they did a good job, by the way. I don't know if they de-aged him or if they just cast a younger actor that looked like. If you go back and I bet if you go back and watch, I can't do it now, but I'm pretty sure I was like, oh, that guy, they look alike. He looked like him when I saw him in the next scene. So I think that
Just
really works
I
as well.
thought they didn't look like alike at all. I was like,
Really?
it's clearly them because of the implant. But I was like, could they have not found someone that kind of looks more similar?
Oh,
Like the
I
hair
thought they
color
did.
looked different. Like
Well, he was like 20 years younger or whatever it is.
I mean, your hair doesn't go
30
from
years
like
younger.
black to brown, but I don't
And
know.
by the
Falls
way,
out, Tim. Your hair
like-
doesn't go from black to brown, Tim, because you have good genetics.
Clear
I mean,
hairpiece.
Thank you, Nick. Thank
Clear
you. I thought
hairpiece
that was
on
going a
Mulligan.
different way.
Right?
Yeah, Nick, that was a great moment to throw in blonde. Just very disappointed in you.
Clear hairpiece by Mulligan, right? Can we agree?
Sure.
I don't know.
It didn't look like
You
to
don't
me.
think so?
Nah.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know, Andy. I think you need to take up the mantle of the wigs because I got halfway through this and I'll be honest with you, this was the point in the movie where I was like, I wonder if Andy's gonna share that popcorn again. Because you offered me some of the popcorn during the previews, and I was like, I'll just take a little handful, but I could eat this whole thing right now. And then about 20 minutes later, I was like, Andy, I'm gonna eat the rest of your popcorn. And you're like, yeah, go ahead, eat the popcorn. It
But
was
I mean,
so
but
salty.
but even it was so salty. But even before that, I shit you not, Nick had the popcorn and was going at it for approximately like 12 minutes straight. Just like I feel
went
feel like
easy.
you had it for so long, and I was like, damn,
Do you-
you motherfucker's still going.
Do you have a game plan if that happens? Like, at what point would you
just
have
do
been
the
like,
claw. You
hey,
go, give me the claw. Give me the rest.
hey, Nick?
I
don't
guess
know.
I would
I
need a
wanna
game
hold
plan.
it.
I guess I would need a game plan, Kevin, if I was really enjoying it. But it was so salty,
I
and I was
loved
kind of okay with it. So I'm not even mad that Nick ate. Like, I think we could be honest here, Nick. You probably ate half
of it.
of what I ate. Yeah, yeah.
I did.
So at this point, I was
you-
like, yeah, I'm fine with it. Go for it.
One thing I want to say that was like extra disappointing about this movie, especially the beginning of this movie, is the lineup of trailers that we saw before it might have been an all-time great. Like we went from it was Eternals, we got the new Halloween Kills trailer, which is fucking fantastic. It's so hype. We got a super hype conclusion of the saga James Bond trailer. We got the Spider-Man No Way Home. The whole time I'm just like, I fucking love the movies. Let's go. And then we see that Venom title splash, and I was like, oh no. But here we are, present day.
Nothing lasts forever, as they say. Let's get back to the plot here. Mulligan wants Eddie Brock to come talk to Cassidy, who is a serial killer that he refused to talk to anyone but Eddie Brock. And you're thinking, wow, that's probably because he knows Eddie Brock is Venom and he's putting 2 and 2 together, and that's his escape plan. But no, the reason he wanted to talk to him because he was like, I just thought we could be buddies. I thought we could be buddies. I was like, all right, well, I guess that makes sense. Anyway, he goes,
the whole time I'm thinking like, oh, his symbiote Carnage senses the other symbiote, but he never had it. Doesn't have it yet. Doesn't have
Oh man,
No, he
there's
doesn't have
so
it.
much. Yep. He
he
just
bites
thought,
him, yeah.
he thought he could be family with him, because that's all he wanted.
That's all he wanted, family. Turns out he's been killing everyone because the one thing he can't kill is his need for love.
Insatiable.
Anyway, he goes to talk to him. I think we get a scene here where Eddie's making breakfast, or maybe that's later. But there's something about Sonny and Bono, Sonny Bono and
Sonny
Cher,
and
the
Bono.
chickens.
Oh, the chickens.
They gave Venom a chew toy
It
as
was
well.
cute, but like as soon as that happened, I was like, oh man, that joke is made for Nick.
They're
I
gonna
bet you
run
he's
it into the
cracking
ground.
out.
I thought it was perfect. As a beat for like a Spider-Man movie, I think that would have been really funny. But man, when they come, Tim.
I agree.
When they fucking find the chickens again that were left at the Palace of Fine Arts, which has a lot of people around at any given time, by the way. When you go to the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco, it's a popular spot for weddings, picnickers, people who are jogging by. Someone would have seen 2 chickens and been like, we got to call animal control because chickens aren't going to survive. Also, we have a lot of coyotes in San Francisco roaming around. Those things would be dead. I digress. Let's go back to this. He gets talked into going to talk to Cassidy because he's a loser and he's like, this could put us back on top. They make a big point of saying that. He's a loser and he could be put back on top. So he goes and he's like, Cassidy's like,
hey, but remember me. Don't just go and forget me.
Exactly. He's like, listen, I'll tell you my life story. I'll tell you my whole life story, but you have to print this one thing for me in the newspaper. And that, of course, is a message to Screech, who is over in her thing. And she sees it and she's like, he does love me. I remember him from a long time ago. And he's like, I do love you. And it's like, this should have had the tone of Natural Born Killers, but it does not. Anyway, on the way out, Venom's like, Eddie, look at that. There's a bunch of writing all over Eddie, all over the cells. Eddie's like, there's no point to that. And Venom's like, I didn't go to journalism school, but even I fucking know that you should at least take a picture of this shit. You're an investigative journalist.
Eddie Brock like totally like just absolutely useless and idiot.
He's useless.
There's so many moments he's like, I don't know, it's a house. Yeah. And it's like, Jesus. All right.
So, of course, we get the most ridiculous scene after this in this entire movie where Venom's like, let me drive for a hot second and starts drawing pictures for him. And he's like, it's a house. It's snow. I don't know. It doesn't matter. None of this matters. And if I were Venom, I'd be like this. You know what, dude? I didn't mean that you were a loser before, but you are a fucking loser. Like, at least put some effort into this.
You're a loser.
You're a loser.
This is one of many sequences that like just makes me think that this could be made by the people that made the Sharknado movies and stuff like that, where
Absolutely.
like it's that low quality, it's that bad of an idea. But why is this happening? Why is he doing the drawing on the table? Like, it's so fucking terrible.
Why does any of it matter? Why wasn't the first time he talked to Carnage the time where Carnage gets Carnage?
Yep.
Why wasn't that a plan?
Why have to set it up to have him come back again so
like,
that the detective could be more interested?
Like, he's already on death row, right? They're gonna kill him. It doesn't matter if they kill him now or later for the plot of the movie, right? Like, we find anyway. Doesn't matter. He draws
Honestly,
Bodega Bay or whatever the fuck it is.
This bums me out that this is like Andy Serkis. This is like that he directed this, because it's just like I can't imagine. Can you imagine him? It sucks because it's so perfect for Nick. Like, great, Nick, you got one on Andy Serkis. Great,
have I
Nick.
been
We're all
fucking
so proud.
saying
You know what I mean?
for
Like,
years? Okay, you can't direct people just using motion. Okay, you gotta use your words sometimes, Andy Serkis.
Do you think he mocapped the director?
I think he totally did. I think they were like, Andy, what do you think of that take? And he was just like,
He was in the ball suit.
And they're like, okay, he's
I
doing the
love that you
gorilla. He's
always
doing
go to-
Caesar.
You
he's doing
always go to
Caesar.
Caesar.
I think
You
he-
go to
that means
Caesar
it's a good
so
take.
quick.
Oh, but
Good
the
take.
thing about Nick when he goes into his Caesar is like it's not quick. He has to. Nick backs up and like gets into character before he jumps into it. I just can't wait for Spider-Man versus Venom, directed by Henry Winkler. That'll just like bring it all back.
Oh, that would be my nightmare / the best thing for comedy. Anyway, they figure out where all the bodies are buried, and guess what? We don't need Cassidy anymore. Cassidy's like, you son of a bitch. Now they're gonna kill me because that's all they wanted to know. Even though there's more bodies, by the way. He alludes to the fact that there's even more people left out there. But now they're like, we're just gonna kill this guy. We found enough bodies to make the families happy, and we can close the book on this serial killer right now.
And more importantly, Nick, at this point in the movie, Tom Hardy is back to being the belle of the ball, the toast of the town.
Oh my god!
Everybody
Literally-
loves.
Remember his
Everybody
shitty
loves
bike?
and praises him because of his amazing journalistic TV show. Again, it's not a web
Me
show.
and Andy fucking lost our shit. We're like, oh, it's confirmed. TV.
He had a
Totally.
TV
Yeah.
show,
Guys.
and people love him again. And it is one of those things that it's the first of 3 times, I believe, that Tim felt so disappointed that they are conveying the news to us. They are conveying the story to us through a news report. And it's always somebody on screen going, but the way it was done was so funny. And it's the guy on TV going, and by the way, they found all the killers thanks to the incredible job by Tom Hardy. Eddie Brock, he's right back on the rise. Everybody loves this guy
No,
again. Like
they
it was
said-
so on the
Andy,
nose.
There is a line before he does this where he's like, "This." The detective goes, "This could put you back on top," and then the reporter goes, and it's thanks to the stunning investigative reporting of Eddie Brock, who's back on top.
Yeah.
And you're like, was this guy like super famous back in the day? And if so, like, how did he get there?
But
Did
what
he
a weird
stumble
thing
into
for a
that?
newscaster to say. Like
Yeah,
that's just
absolutely. Like it's just these people have never watched actual news and are just like, what would be convenient for the plot?
it's great.
So you guys all know I always like poke fun, and when news is given to the characters via news on TV, and Andy's correct. This movie does not do it once. It does not do it twice. It does it 3 times. And even like by the 3rd time, I was like, all right, Venom, let them be Carnage. You got me. I like you motherfuckers. But the funniest thing about it is I come home talking to Gia. She's just like, I'm not fucking watching this movie. Like, is there anything I need to know? And I tell her about the post credits, and she goes, huh. So even the post credit scene was just the fucking news telling them what's happening.
Yeah,
and I was like,
exactly.
no!
Yeah. One day, Tim, when we make the first kind of funny movie, it's just going to be TV telling you what's
my
going on. It's all going to be expositional dialogue. Anyway, somewhere in here, I'm going to probably miss how all these things go because I'm just doing this from the dome and from the Wikipedia page I've got over here. But somewhere in here also, B-Story kicks in and gives him a call. And she's like, I got something to tell you. They go to a restaurant at this time. Tom Hardy does not get into the lobster tank. In fact, Annie tells him, hey, I'm engaged to Lieutenant Dan, and he is a really nice guy, and he got me this big-ass rock. And then Venom was like, wow, that's a big
good.
diamond.
That's bigger than the one I got you.
That's
And
a
then
big ring.
He says, and she goes, wait a minute. Is fucking Venom in you?
What does
And
he
he's
say,
like,
Nick?
no. He's like, no. And then she's like, he's fucking, like, he's in you. And then she gets mad at him because he fucking lied to her again. And she's
Straight up.
Yeah, straight up. Like, she's like, dude, I'm not a fucking idiot. And like, why would you lie? Why do you need to lie? It doesn't matter. We get a lot of, by the way, we've gone to Mrs. Chen's to get some chocolate at some point here because Venom can only have chocolate. Okay, a couple of things we need to lay out for the rest of this movie so everyone fucking knows. Chocolate and brains are the only thing that Venom really wants. And fire and what, Tim? Sound. Sound and fire and sound.
Oh my
Those
gosh.
are the things that can take Venom.
Another
down.
shark,
Guess what?
another Sharknado moment of Dan at the end doing the fire. Like, what the fuck is happening right now?
But also, when you look at like the script writing process of this movie, when you not even like script writing, just the screenplay, the idea of like the plot, the characters that are going to be involved, they're like, okay, cool. We have this clear idea of Eddie and Venom kind of like going back and forth, having their issues, right? We had it in the first movie. This one's going to be a little more like semi-romantic. Then on the other side, we have Carnage and as Nick would call her, Screech. Screech's power is sound. This sounds like a bad idea, right? This sounds like just like a bad set of characters to put together. And I just love that it never, ever takes even one baby step past the laziness of like, well, of course, Carnage and Shriek aren't going to work out because he makes the sounds and Carnage doesn't like that. It's like, fuck.
Right. Your first thought is this is a highly dysfunctional relationship, right? It's like if Wolverine and Magneto dated. You're like, come on, guys. This is not like if this shit goes down, this is not going to go well, right? Because they're polar opposites of what each other needs, both in power and in emotions.
It's
You
like
would think
it's like Nick and Henry Winkler.
exactly right. You think on paper, you're like that looks like a fun dynamic, but you know it's going to end poorly, right? In this one, you think, okay, they're highly dysfunctional. They're a little off their rocker to begin with, and you know, it's like it's a kind of an abusive relationship to begin with because he's a serial killer for Christ's sake. So at that point where he like knocks her down, I'm thinking, oh, she's gonna turn on him, team up with the bad guys. She's gonna use that power to separate them. They're gonna stab him, but she's gonna die somehow in the process. No, none of that happens, and it doesn't need to happen because we're off to eat some chickens right now. That's right. He's like, listen, he wanted to eat a bad guy for a purse snatcher, and he's like, dude, he's a fucking purse snatcher. Like the guy, you're gonna bite his head off for stealing $30 from someone. Granted, true, it's assault, but he should just go to jail for a year for that. He doesn't deserve to have his head bitten off. Anyway, they go over and they eat the chickens, and all poor chickens. Doesn't matter. And then he gets an invite for the lethal injection for Cassidy. He's like, I should probably go, right? Because I kind of put him in there. And then Venom, I think, is the one that says, no, he put himself in there because he's a serial killer, right? And Venom's like, I've been on Earth for half a year and I know more about this planet and about being human than you do, you dumbass. Anyway, we go over to that and he talks to Ken. Cassie's like, why did you do that? You screwed me over. And he's like, no, you put yourself in here. You're a serial killer. It doesn't matter. And then he pisses off Eddie, calls him yellow. And Eddie goes, nobody calls me yellow. I don't know if that happened in this movie or in another movie called Back to the Future, but I like Back to the Future, so I'm just going to kind of combine those, right? Those plots.
Here's the crazy thing. This next moment, Eddie or Venom shoots an arm or a tendril,
Tendril? Like
Tendril?
just yeah.
And pulls him towards the fence, at which point he bites,
Right.
Cassidy bites him. Cassidy?
Right, Cassidy bites him, yeah.
Bites him. And the weird thing is, he's like, hey, that blood tastes weird. Not, you just whipped an arm out of your chest and grabbed me. How is it that he didn't notice that? He was 6 feet away from him, and suddenly he was up against the thing. That baffles me. That baffles me that they were like, it's fine. Like, this is the way we'll handle that.
Again, this is how he gets Carnage. He bites.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the intuition that Cassidy has when that blood hits his lips, you would think that he is already Venom. You would think that he's already Carnage, a being that has eaten people before and going, that's not human blood. That's not what I'm used to tasting. And so right there, I'm already like, oh, he's Carnage. And then he's been Carnage this whole time, clearly. No. And then you see the little amoeba kind of move, and I'm like, oh my God, he's just a human dude who wasn't freaked out by. But he's never. It's so wild. It's wild.
But I just don't understand how they glaze over the fact that he grabbed him with the arm. Like it's just no one else is like taking aside that like he doesn't mention, hey, this man just grabbed me with a giant black thing out of his chest.
No, he did yell.
Surely there's cameras.
He yelled at the security guard. He said something like,
"Yeah, this blood isn't normal."
No, he said like Eddie Brock is hiding something, or
has a secret.
Yeah,
because of his blood.
By the way, you guys are missing the bigger point. The security guard was standing behind him the entire time, saw the whole thing, and was like, "Nope, not saying a fucking thing about that. You're gonna go home, smoke a doobie, and call it a day. I don't care."
But Nick, what you don't understand is the security guard was just standing behind him at an angle, and the arm came straight out at that same angle, so no one saw that. To him, Cassidy just jumped forward.
Yes, that's a good point. You're making a lot of different points. I'm also, while you guys are talking, I'm gonna try to send you guys the poster to Venom because Woody Harrelson's wig is fucking ridiculous. It looks like banana peels that someone just laid over his forehead.
Just put it in acids or send the link.
I'm gonna try to find it here. Hold on, I gotta look at it. Surprisingly, not a lot of larger images for this. I don't think they bothered.
I can find.
We can get you the press kit. We'll get you the press kit.
That'd be amazing. I just want you guys to look.
I might have the press kit actually.
It's the one on the IMDb page.
Oh my God, I see it. Nick, I got it.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You know, we need to talk about this poster because we haven't talked about it on any show because we don't have morning show anymore. We don't have like the KFAF or anything because the poster is a travesty in like every single way. But let's just even just talking about the design. Even it's like, why would they have these two characters and like not even line them up correctly. Like, why is Cletus Cassidy on the side of Venom instead of Carnage on this poster? Like, this makes no fucking sense.
Because whoever designed it was like, they're the same thing, right?
Like, who cares?
Who cares? Who gives a shit?
But yeah, Nick, do you want to walk us through what you're seeing on his head?
I mean, obviously Tom Hardy's had a little bit of zhuzh too because he's losing his hair, so they put a little something in there, a little Photoshop magic, maybe a little bit of that powder that my stylist used one time, and I was like, I'm thinking about it, but then I'm gonna sweat.
His hair is always so wet.
It's thinning, so I think they do whatever they can to make it look like you can't see his scalp. Then of course Woody Harrelson just bald as a fucking cue ball, right? And they just decided to like kill a couple New York City sewer rats and just throw them on top of his head for this one.
Would you prefer this or the curly fro?
I think I prefer this because it makes him look even more sinister. The curly fro just didn't work for me. It's a little too comical on this, but man,
this looks terrible. Like, I can't believe.
I even think Michelle Williams is wearing a wig in this too. I think everyone's wearing a wig in it. Big wig.
Also, this makes me so mad.
Anyway, let's move
back
to
to the plot. We missed a couple things here too, where I didn't even know where I left off.
Brock leaves the jail.
Brock leaves the jail, and he's like, "Well, I guess that's all going to be good." And then, we missed the postcard sequence where he wrote him the really weird, strange postcard and talked about how we had some backstory about how he killed his grandma, and his dad, and his mom.
Tim, you missed this.
I did, yeah.
Little animated segment. There was an animated segment. He gets a postcard from Carnage, from Cletus Cassidy, and starts reading kind of the history of what he did and why he got put into this institution, and it's all done in like this 2D animated sort of thing. 3D, 2D. It's all supposed to look like red scribbles.
The style is really cool looking. Didn't super fit this movie.
Tim, do you remember when they talked about the story of the Deathly Hallows?
I knew you were going to go there.
I knew you were going to go there. It actually looks a lot like that.
Cool version of that, and it really works in the story. They got halfway there.
Yeah, they only used red or something.
They show how he threw a toaster into the bathtub to kill his mom, and how he did something else, and the dad pushed her grandma down the stairs. The dad was abusive with him, so it just shows like his trauma and his past and how he's been a murderer his whole life.
Not at first. They don't show that. That's the thing, is they want to set him up, right? He says later, what I was going to tell you, my life story, was that all of those people that I killed were like abusive toward me, and so I was killing them because nobody came to help me, so I killed them. That was like a third act reveal.
Right.
But in the postcard, it just makes him look like a psychopath, I think. And then he smashes a. Tim, this is the most important part. He smashes a spider on the postcard, and then
as it's happening.
So as he's writing it.
Now, very important. Like, we see the smudge on the postcard, and there's a moment where they're talking about like it being his origin, and they kind of look up, and like they crush the spider. I think that was an allusion to the fact that like he comes from Spider-Man, and that they don't have to, because they look a very, very dumb, like look at the camera like aren't we clever? And it's like,
you can't make us include him in there.
Yeah. So we got all that stuff. Anyway, Eddie Brock leaves, and Carnage is like, I'm feeling kind of weird. And then we cut over at some point to Eddie Brock. Then we go to Eddie Brock, and Eddie's like, listen, I'm super disappointed with you, Venom. And Venom's like, I'm disappointed with you too, because I made it with the tool. And they leave each other, right? They have this really fun fight where Venom breaks his nose twice. Just so he can heal it and break it again. There's roof falling everywhere. And then Venom goes, you know what, I'm just out of here. He uses the fire alarm, and Venom's like, I'm out. And then Venom jumps from person to person to person until he discovers a young man going to a rave. And that is where we pick this up. I think we go over to the at the rave first.
Wait, hold on.
I don't know.
Did you explain that he jumps into a person and destroys the
kills
the
motorcycle? I haven't gotten to that part
He
yet.
destroys the motorcycle.
Oh, he does destroy the motorcycle. That's right.
Which is just like, all right. But this movie's so ridiculous.
I thought anybody would have like been able to look out and be like, oh my God, there's a gigantic monster just destroying this motorcycle. One thing though that I felt this feeling of dread when this sequence began, because whenever we get the first hint that a fight is going to happen, in my mind, I go, this is going to be the next 7 minutes. Let's get ready for this bullshit. And I'm like not looking forward to it because I know I'm not going to have a great time with it. I think it was like a 2 out of 10 and not like a 0 out of 10. I thought that was like I liked the nose breaking. I thought that was kind of cute, but for the most part, I was not having a good time during that
No,
sequence.
I didn't like this. I don't. We've seen it before. I don't care for it myself. But we're just gonna go ahead and skip ahead there. Cletus gets they go over to Cletus and he's like having his last meal, and the guy's like, "What do you want?" And he's like, "I got a little something in me, right?" And he's like, "I
want
can feel a little something
Carnage
in me,
or
right?"
something. I don't know.
And then we cut over to
He says that 10 more times.
Yeah.
Then we cut over.
I would
to a
like some
rave.
Carnage asada.
Oh,
It's
that's
like,
a
okay.
great joke. And he's like, "Well, you already okay. I'll give you a burrito."
So is in this rave is Venom like it
Avoid
starts out with
Benny.
it starts out with a dude like all like dying, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Venom's killing these people, right?
I assume so.
I assume
Yeah.
he's not
'Cause they're not a
eating
good
anyone.
match.
Right.
Is that it, or is it that he's
Either
just
that or
not
they're
eating
OD.
other people?
No, he says that. No, it's they're not a good match. He goes into the one dude, and that dude passes out, and then he's like, another one bites the dust, like fucking kind of.
So he's just killing these people. It's like insane. Like what is?
He doesn't care.
And then we get a moment that Tim kind of looked at me. I was like, did that just is that what I thought that was? Where a woman starts flirting with Venom. He goes, "No, you're not my type." And then we kind of get illusion. We get illusions to him coming out.
He's like, "I'm out of the
he's
Eddie closet."
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
I mean,
I
there is a
guess.
lot of that imagery as well. The glow sticks, if you looked, were rainbow colored. So there was a lot of that. I think the whole thing about this was I don't know what they were going for here, but that was
Me
definitely
either.
those were
Yeah.
choices that they were making. It was definitely a coming out party of some degree for him, but I don't know if that was supposed to be. I don't know where they were going with that, and I'll be honest, I don't think they knew where they were going with that.
Yeah,
either.
the thing is, it feels inappropriate because it's so like
In
not
jest.
vague. Yeah, it's just something they're throwing in there because they're like, oh, we can be more inclusive this way.
Right.
But I
Maybe.
did
vaguely
also-
more inclusive.
I did
No,
kind of
I
think it was
them ending up at the beach together and all that stuff. It's just like Eddie and Venom were kind of together.
I did kind of love
Well, I think they're
that-
together because they share this body.
I did love that they are at this San Francisco rave party, and I did kind of love the imagery and what was happening of Venom being like, we must stop he's kind of like saying stuff as if he's like at a rally of some sort, like
Mhm.
we must stop the oppressor. Like I forgot exactly what he was saying, and people were just agreeing. I'm like, fuck yeah, like I kind of enjoyed that part of it, but I still thought it was very muddy with like, what are they going for here?
Yeah,
This
I
is
mean,
kind
but
of
this is another moment where it's like no one is acting like rational people. If someone goes on stage, regardless of their 9-foot monster, I mean, also it's a 9-foot monster. No one's freaking out. Everyone's like,
Well, they think
yeah,
it's a
this-
costume.
costume. It's a good
Yeah,
costume. Everybody's
yeah.
high and drunk, Kevin.
You know what I
Everybody's
mean?
high.
Kevin,
No
when
one
I
thinks
first saw
it's-
your Oogie Boogie costume, I was like, "Holy shit, that's real!" And then Kevin was like, "What's up, Nick?" And I was like, "Oh, it's just Kevin. Thank God." Thank
But
God.
Nick still wasn't
Nick,
100%
you're hilarious.
convinced.
Nick, you're fucking hilarious. I want you to know that. You know what I mean?
This scene weird as shit, but it doesn't matter because we cut right back over to the penitentiary where they're about to lethally inject Butch Cassidy, and spoilers, Carnage comes alive and kills every single person. And this scene is a little twisted and kind of cool. At least it's scary. I'll tell you that. At least it had a little
Super-
intensity to it.
Super sad if you think about the fact that those are the family members of the
Right, he killed
victims, and he
Um,
goes,
them all. But then
with that, I'll even say like I definitely felt this with the first movie, but this one even more so. Like I think the movie would have benefited from an R rating, and I think that they pushed it, but like you kind of see those limitations. Like they even say fuck in this movie. They use their one fuck.
They had
for
the one fuck.
PG-13.
Yeah.
But I think that them actually having a more proper Carnage backstory, I was like, okay, cool. Like they're not shying away from it as much as I expected them to, but because they got like semi close, it's like fuck. Like if we had that R rating, we could have went further. And I think that a lot of the plot issues we had would have been able to make a lot more sense, and we'd feel a little bit more like behind the choices made if we are truly hating this character, as opposed to like them kind of trying to make it sympathetic in some way with the abuse angle and all that. It's like it felt off for me, and I think that the horror elements that we see in the scene are the seeds of hints of greatness, and then we don't really get much of it because otherwise it's just kind of noise.
yeah,
I think
Well,
the
mean,
important thing to remember is these people don't care about making a good story. They are trying to make as much money as possible. And if you slap a PG or rated R, that's potentially less people going. Like, I mean, Deadpool is the only movie that's rated R that's
Logan.
made like Logan too. You're right. Yes.
Don't forget
We're in a
also
different
that
world. I don't buy
Good
that
movie,
anymore.
Logan.
don't
real
forget
good.
also that
No,
the scene
I
prior
think
to
you're-
this, our protagonist killed 3 people for no reason. Just think about that. Left 3 people in his dust, dying in a rave. And then we're like, cool, you're the good guy. Anyway, we come back over. He kills everyone. Carnage kills everyone. And I'm like, this is actually kind of an intense scene. And then he turns into a tornado. And I'm like, oh, okay. So this guy just had to wait.
Perfect example.
never mind,
Everyone's
never
favorite
mind.
Carnage ability. The
tornado
fucking,
twist.
Tornado.
Andy, you got your Sharknado.
There it
But with
is.
Carnage.
Oh
Andy.
man, this scene was like, I agree with Nick. This scene was like pretty intense, and you all know that I don't love horror moments or
It's
anything like
scary.
that. The jump scare's about to happen. Not to mention, this is the loudest fucking theater I've ever
Oh
been in
my
my
God.
life. Like,
Love it.
they had the Dolby fucking raised up to 15 in this goddamn joint, Kevin. And anytime that Shriek yelled
Oh, Shriek sucked.
or Carnage yelled, my fucking I almost had to cover my ears because it was hitting a resonance that was kind of painful. And this movie was just loud as shit. It was kind of scary. This sequence was pretty intense, I thought.
It was scary. Of course, I think news of that hits Anne and Dan. They call Eddie or something like that. Meanwhile, Carnage goes over to the Ravencroft, or he hacks into a computer. He beats the shit out of a guy at an AM PM, and then hacks into his computer. And
Which was
searches
really violent, the way he like
super
stomped on
violent.
him after he was down.
I love that Carnage, who was just fucking a weird symbiote, can plug into a computer and it brings up Carnage looking UI. Like, it's the fucking dumbest shit of all
It's
time,
like the
dude.
Matrix, but red.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Eddie, at this point, Mulligan comes over and he's like, some shit happened. It's very reminiscent of the shit you got into. I'm arresting you. And he's like, shit. He's like, I'm not saying anything until I get my one phone call. He calls Anne and says, you need to find Venom. And they're on a date, and she's like, I promise there won't be any aliens whatsoever. And she immediately lies to Dan. Dan's just like, why do I put up with any of this? I'm a doctor.
He's so broken in this.
I'm a doctor.
You know what I mean? Like,
So I know. They go on the hunt for Venom, who at this point has gone over to Mrs. Chen's. And Michelle Williams is like, hey, I need to find Venom. And Mrs. Chen is acting a little bit weird. She goes,
super mean.
you're Venom. And then Mrs. Chen's face turns to Venom's face.
Andy, you can't fucking lie. You laughed, and you laughed hard, and you kept laughing.
I thought this moment had some decent moments of humor, except for when Michelle Williams says that's right, you're the sexy Venom. I'm like, oh, I hate
Oh
this.
man,
I hate this.
wow, what a way to take it. Like, oh, she's gonna prey on the fact that she knows that Venom is like attracted to her, even though
Is he?
There's, yeah.
Didn't we just have a scene where he's like, you're not my type?
Yeah,
He's attracted to her for Eddie. Like, I think that there's like a lot going on there.
Yeah.
Because even in the first movie,
it.
there's an attachment between Anne
Well,
and Venom
no,
as well.
when he becomes her, right? Because he's in her body for
Kevin, she Venom.
He does at one point. Venom does at one point say like, "We can let
It's
her
not
die.
she-
I don't like her that much."
But it's
He
not
does
she
say
Venom,
that.
Nick, Tim. It's Venom on her.
She Venom.
That's how she becomes Venom.
Well, at this point, you guys are missing. You guys are missing
Yeah, but, like,
the
I'm
most
saying, like-
important part right now is that Dan's like, "Hey, you said there wasn't going to be any alien talk," and she was like, "Well, no, other than Venom." And he's like, "All right, touche." Dan, of course, wearing a banger of a scarf in this scene. But again, another thing like we talked about last week, we all agreed, right? Nobody ever takes the freaking cable car ever in San Francisco.
We
unless
did
you're
not
a
agree with that. We
darn
disagreed.
tourist. I'll tell you what people don't wear anymore is scarves in San Francisco because it's 120 fucking degrees in this city.
True,
all
we
the time.
don't wear
hot.
scarves. We
It's
all
so
voted.
fucking hot. Tim, how hot is it in your room right now?
I'm fucking sweating, dude. I am pouring. I'm wearing shorts.
83.
83 degrees. 83.1 degrees.
I love
right?
that
Just
you
like the
still
band.
use that.
I love it, Kevin.
Andy.
I love it.
Good, great.
You got to check your GPU temps with something. Okay. Anyway, so she goes, hey, I'm gonna go over to Eddie. Meanwhile, Carnage breaks out Screech from Ravencroft, and I think this is a pretty cool
Which
scene. I
is
think
so
this kinda worked for
quick.
me.
It happens so quick because
He
we
just
get
gets in there and
Mulligan.
drips in.
We get
Yeah.
Mulligan being like, "Where's he gonna go next?" And then it just immediately like, "Oh, he's there breaking out."
And of course, Eddie goes, hey, I think he's going out. Oh, I'm sorry. Eddie did some investigative journalism too, where he goes to St. Estes and figures out that there's a tree that's carved into that has
man.
Butch
Yeah,
Cassidy
you're
and
right.
Francis Brendan's initials. And he divines from that they were lovers. Because apparently they were like, we
Well, that's
got
what
to
a
keep
heart
this
means.
movie to 90 minutes. It could have been anyone though. Who the fuck? It's letters.
This
it's not their name.
Hey,
This moment. This is what the only time in the movie where it's like he's on the phone and Mulligan's like, I know who it is.
Yeah.
Because I shot her.
Yeah, I shot her.
I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, same guy.
He was the kid.
Same guy.
He was the kid.
Pretty good. Pretty good stuff right here.
And on this case,
Great movie. Great movie.
We'll skip ahead here. So of course they break out. I actually like the visual of him hugging the glass till it breaks and they kiss. I thought that was a cool shot.
Yeah.
They come out and they get in the car and man, they start banging it up. And then he's like, "Why don't I just hang us?" I don't know.
Sorry, how does he get from the other side of the wall? Because there's the moment where
he slurps through. He probably slurps through something.
You think he can slurp?
You
think he can slurp?
He's definitely slurping, Kevin.
Oh, he can
slurping.
If Screech can screech, then then Carnage can slurp for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
They go to get away from the cops, and it's established here again another fun setup that when she screeches, it's really bad for Carnage, and so he's like, "Make her stop, or I'll bite her head off." And this is like, "Oh no, they're not all fun and dandy."
They're not
in this cool Mustang that he stole for her, which was a good moment. But they end up getting away anyway because Carnage throws a car into a helicopter and they end up getting away.
I got a comment on this car situation. Like he just walks outside and hijacks this car, just this random car, and then this car ends up being the very specific car of her dreams.
Tim, that's what you thought.
The model
that's what you thought. That's what you thought. Instead, he was probably looking for it, and when he found it.
Ability to hack into the DMV, Tim. So you have to imagine he went and found this guy's specific thing. Now, granted, he found the car, I think, before he hacked into the DMV to find her. But Kevin's right. Just forget what you know.
He probably that might have been like his third or fourth one because he found it in the red color, which obviously that's
her favorite.
A big thing for him. No, I think that was his favorite because he's Carnage. He's got red, so he was
She says a red 68 Mustang. That's my favorite. And he goes, "I know, baby, I found it for you." And it's like, wow, this gives me mad Natural Born Killer vibes. Only it's not good.
That Natural Born Killers isn't good either.
Yeah, you know what, Kevin, you're right. It's not my favorite.
What a reveal! What a twist, Andy.
Hit or miss for me.
Nick, I will give you that it has really solid acting from Woody Harrelson.
It's weird as shit.
What's her face?
And Juliette Lewis.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll move on. Carrie Mulligan's like, "Hey, I snuck in and I snuck Venom in, and I've got the Venom for you." And then she turns into She-Venom again. And you're like, "Cool, we needed to see that to sell the toy." And then they make out or something, and then Venom goes into. Oh no, she grabs him and she just goes through the wall. Because why bother sneaking in if you're just gonna go through the fucking wall anyway?
I was wondering why Venom doesn't look like She-Venom in any of the other humans. Only her. Because Venom went into a couple of women.
Andy, I'm gonna have to ask you to stop asking questions like that.
Yeah, and you get suspiciously close to causing a problem here.
I'd like to think it's because the Annie character is like stronger willed, right? It's like how like the Jedi mind trick only works on like weak willed people. Well, you're not gonna Annie and Venom equal.
Toydarians doesn't work
exactly.
These Jedi mind tricks do not work on me. Yeah.
Oh, that's such a better version of that than what Greg does.
That was good.
Get your shit together. Anyway, they go away, and Venom, he has to apologize to Venom, and Venom then goes back to Eddie, and it's super weird. And then he slaps Dan a couple times. And at this point, I'd be like, no, I'm done with all of this. I'm leaving and I'm moving to New York, where nothing ever happens that's spider related. And then let's see. Oh, he goes, "Hey, get her out of town, right? Hey, Venom's coming for me. He knows or Carnage is coming for me. He knows for him. Get him out of town." And so Michelle Williams immediately gets kidnapped, and Dan gets put in the trunk of a car that was not the car he was driving prior. He was driving, evidently he was driving Andy's car, and he has his own Audi because he gets thrown in the back of an Audi, and it's a nice car. I forgot, I missed the most important beat here is that, and this one was one that I specifically heard Tim laugh at. Well, let's go back to the first act, where Venom's about to throw the Sony Bravia out the window, and he goes, "Don't throw the TV out the window," and then he does it anyway. And then what do we see in the next scene, Tim?
A brand new Sony Bravia TV, not just the TV, the box for the TV too, which leads to like that alone was like kind of funny. And I'm just like, all right, cool. And I don't normally get caught up on product placement. I'm like, these are just fucking movies. 99% of the times people are like, oh, how much did they pay the product placement? It's like, no, it's not. It just happens to be a brand that you recognize. Right. But then this is one of those times where the detective comes and goes, "Hey, It's a nice TV you got there. A line that did not need to be in the movie. Did not even make sense in the context of
Tim,
what is happening.
I will
Tim, what I
say-
really wanted, Nick and Tim, is like, it's a nice TV you got there. Is that 120 hertz? You got HDMI 2.1 on that?
He's like, I got it on sale at Best Buy from October 1st to October 10th, 20% off. Best Buy. Use promo code Venom sucks H2X.
I was so shocked that Mulligan wasn't like, wow, nice TV. Is that a PlayStation 5? Whoa.
Yeah.
Wait, are we on a
I don't know
Sony
if you
Ericsson
guys-
phone?
It cut off really quick, but I don't know if you noticed in the intro that Cameron Kennedy made, he did in fact put an ad for the DualSense 5 that he snuck in there.
I don't know why.
I saw
I don't know
it. I saw
why
it.
it didn't
I
stay
saw it.
longer.
Good.
It was the perfect amount of time. Anyway, I just thought we should mention that because that was hilarious product placement. Now, I will say the guy is a detective, and if I walked in and saw your TV with a box still in there, I'd be like, I would feel compelled to comment on the TV. But I don't know if Mulligan really knows the difference between a bad TV and a nice TV. 'Cause he's a cop, man. He's just out there. But I guess you just was doing it to be nice. Anyway,
I do want to give shout outs to Eddie for cleaning up his house. Because like every
Did a
time we
great
cut
job.
to it earlier,
Gave me
I was
anxiety.
really grossed out. I was like,
Yeah,
this
disgusting.
sucks. Look at like, he's letting this guy just do what he wants. And like, they need to find a middle ground. And I like to think that when we see him in the hotel
Couples
later.
counseling. Yeah.
Well, in the hotel later, their place is it's clean. It doesn't look like a disaster. And I like to think that they talked about
That's
it.
one of the things they worked on.
Yeah,
Kev.
yeah, where they were like, you can't do this to me. I like to be
I like
clean.
that.
You should also be clean.
So Shriek goes and grabs Annie, and Carnage goes as a wedding present to get Detective Mulligan, and we meet at the church. And this is where it all is. And Eddie walks in, and and Venom's like, "Oh no, it's a red one," and then just disappears. And we're like, "Oh, are the red ones bad?"
Dude,
The-
I am utterly shocked at how this movie handled this because we saw it in the trailer and it was horrible. And it's like, all right, but I mean, contextually, there has to be something around that. And I can't believe there's not. I can't believe that there's no explanation of like, here's the different classes or whatever. And I'm not talking about a whole exposition of crazy shit. Just give us something more than just, oh shit, that's a red one.
The
Tim, what
idea of or like, I need everybody to watch that sequence and tell me that Tom Hardy is a good actor in that moment, because that is one of the weirdest I didn't really know what he was doing there. It really felt like they left in takes that weren't supposed to be in the final movie. This whole sequence from Tom Hardy of him talking to Venom to try to get him to come out are, again, like Sharknado level bad.
Sometimes, Andy, you only get one take at stuff. Like when we do this video again, I'm gonna nail this plot recap.
You're doing great. You're doing
Thanks,
great.
man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. This was fucking weird as shit. Anyway, he comes in. He's like, "You can eat all the people you want. I promise." And by the way, and I'm
What-
sad that Tim walked away from this because I did want to introduce this. We're the Lethal Protectors. You remember
Yes.
that?
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
that was
the thing
funny.
they said.
So I do want to add, because like in the trailer he says you can eat whoever you want, but in this they added a little moment where they're like, you can eat everyone here.
And that's one of the lines that I could not hear.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
like
that's
he explicitly says, "Don't eat the fucking priest. Don't eat the
priest, yeah.
priest." And so they come to agreement on that. And then he says something else that it was just so hard to make out in that moment because
it was something along the lines of like, everyone else is good.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
Dan comes in, and I guess Dan is part of the like don't eat group.
It's
Yeah.
one of those things. So here's how this whole scene plays out, right? They start fighting. Venom is quickly overrun, and you think, okay, Michelle Williams is just tied
Carey
up in the
Mulligan.
box. We're gonna open that box up, and she's gonna be gone, and she's gonna be overhead. And she's gonna start pouring fire on them, right? Because we know that fire or she's gonna ring the bell. When that bell started ringing, I was like, oh. Well, first off, we see Dan, and Dan throws fire on him, and it doesn't work, and Dan gets like almost put out. But then the bell starts ringing, and I think to myself, "Oh, we're gonna cut over."
No,
and
we cannot
Michelle
fast forward
Williams-
that. We can't fast forward that fast, Nick, because we have to again point out the fact that Dan goes fire and sound, but without the sound.
Yep,
Like
I
that.
did.
Did he really say that? Is that what he
Who
said?
is writing this movie? These people are being paid so much to do this.
Again, I'm
it
gonna
is
tell you-
fucking upsetting, dude.
This is what you get when you hire Andy Serkis to write a movie, and he does it in character as Caesar, right? Ooh, fire.
God.
Sound.
I hate this guy.
You know, the worst thing about this is, there are things we know about Venom, there's things we know about Carnage that we expect to see. And I think a church set piece, a church action scene is something we want to see from it. And it's just so sad that, especially with as dope of a church as that is, that this is kind of the angle they went. And this is how it all like plays out. I do think that the like passing between Anne and Dan is like kind of nifty. That's what I'm gonna say about it. It's kind of nifty. Take that if it's a good thing or not.
Oh, you mean the
Just call it
symbiote?
out.
The symbiote traveling?
Yeah,
That was cool to catch him at the end. That was.
I
Cool.
think it could have been a lot cooler if it were executed a bit better, like just
movie.
camera wise and shit like that. I thought it looked kind of wonky, but I love the idea of it. I really do think it's a cool idea.
All that happens. Screech goes up to kill Detective
Screech-
Mulligan.
Screech powers.
She ends up throwing him onto she's stabbing one of his eyes out, and then stabbing him with a cement trough, one of those things that you put cement on. I was like, damn, that's fucking brutal. Like right in his rotator cuff, that's gonna need surgery.
Yeah.
And then she stabs his eye, gouges his eye out, and throws him down, and then leaves him for dead. And then goes up to the top of the tower, and they all fight. And then the bell starts ringing again for no reason, even though he ripped the thing out of the bell. Oh, Screech does the thing.
She screeches,
Right.
and then Carnage gets all mad and smacks her, and
Right.
then Venom, who's now covered with a bunch of blocks, because they're
Oh,
like,
right.
that was a really good scene in Spider-Man when he gets covered,
Yeah.
and he has to like he realizes he's on his own and he has to do it to save the day. Let's do that, but instead have Venom be like, look, they're not a team like us.
Right.
We're a team.
We can beat him. And he's like, they were beating us just unanimously.
Pretty
Like,
handedly,
there was
yeah.
pretty handedly. There's no possible way we're gonna beat them. But he's like, but guess what we are, Tim? We're the fucking motherfucking lethal protectors.
We're the lethal
Okay.
protectors. Let's say that at least
get
once
it
right
up.
now, so we
Let's
can
get
say
it.
it 4 more times. Just in the duration of the rest of the movie. Like it's almost as if they were writing this chronologically and shooting it in order, and they're just like, "Oh fuck, we forgot to say the thing." Oh, it's
Totally.
okay. We'll say it a couple times towards the end.
The alternative does make things a little bit better. The fact that like movies are not recorded chronologically, so for them, maybe over the 4-month period that it took to film this, they were like, "Oh, we said lethal protectors like 4 times. That's
times.
cool." You know, it's not like it's something they're gonna bash over our heads. You know, but they do.
Oh, by the way, but don't let me forget to talk about Eddie Brock's wardrobe. I might be fucking
won't,
crazy. No, I'll say right here in this last
for it.
scene. I might be fucking crazy, but I am pretty sure they dressed him exactly like Eddie Murphy's character from Beverly Hills Cop. He wore a Detroit Lions jacket and a Mumford physical education shirt, which I'm pretty sure, I might be crazy, was the junior high or high school that Eddie Murphy went to, and he wore that shirt in Beverly Hills Cop.
It might be a reference. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Maybe
Because his name's Eddie? Why would they do that?
I mean,
Like-
it is weird, especially because in this movie, but especially in the first movie, it's all SF based stuff. Like it's the
Nick-
city shirt and all that.
Yeah.
I don't think you're crazy.
Like,
I mean,
look at, he's
that's-
wearing, here's
my
here's
God.
a shot right
Jacket.
here. Beverly Hills Cop 2, I think is where it came from. No, Beverly Hills Cop. He's literally wearing a Detroit Lions jacket and a Mumford physical education department. It's a different color.
Roger,
swear
Roger,
to God.
record this, put this on TikTok. We're gonna be massive on TikTok right now. Did you know in Venom, Let There Be Carnage, he's wearing a jacket in reference to Eddie Murphy's character in Beverly Hills Cop?
Why,
Like-
Andy? Because both their names are Eddie?
I don't know.
Like, look,
So-
Kev, I'm going to do this right here. I'm
Wait,
going to put it in Slack.
But also, both their names aren't Eddie. You know what I mean? Like, that's Eddie Murphy, and he's Eddie Brock, the character.
No. But the character in Beverly Hills Cop is Axel Foley. So I don't know. But
You know
I
what I'm
just,
saying? Like, please
Look
clip
at-
that out and make it a TikTok.
perfect. Look at this picture that I just slacked through. It's very small. It's the only one I can
Who
find
did
from
you
that.
send it to? Oh, assets.
I just put in assets, yeah. If you guys pull it up, if you could do it.
I'm pulling it up right now. It's taking a second.
I just Googled this and it says on the Detroit Free Press says Tom Hardy wears Detroit on his sleeve in the sequel Venom Let There Be Carnage. And it is a reference to Axel Foley in the 1984 classic Beverly
Yeah.
Hills Cop.
Look at
Wait,
right there. Isn't that
Is that
wild?
you making that up right now, or did you?
He's
Is
not.
that actually what it says?
I'm reading it, yeah.
Deadly
Oh, wow.
serious. Like,
So
it's
we
the
didn't
same
even figure it out
jacket.
first.
it's very strange. I loved it though. You know I fucking loved it. Anyway, just thought that was a fun little Easter egg. Here's another shot. You can see it full, but it doesn't matter. You guys got it. You guys got the take.
You guys
But
got
it's
the dick.
very strange because that was an insight. It doesn't matter. They fight, they win, and Butch Cassidy's like, you know what I just wanted the entire time, Eddie? I just wanted for us to be friends. And Tom Hardy's like, oh, I'm sorry. Did I totally misread this whole situation? And then Venom goes, fuck this guy, and then just eats his head off. Oh, that's not before he eats Carnage, right? They separate Carnage from him. He's
Right.
about to go in, and then Venom eats Carnage. And
How
it's
do
like,
I thought he was
"Oh,
gonna
he
choke on-
tasted bad."
Let's
I thought he
go
was gonna
back a little
choke on
further.
Carnage.
Let's
Oh.
go back a little further. How does Screech die? Someone, Venom slaps her so that she screams, and then she ends up falling down the
And the bell lands on
cathedral,
her.
and the bell lands on her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wild.
how I totally didn't understand this. How does Mulligan or what that's his name, right? The detective
Why does he become?
toxin.
I don't know.
That's a great question, Tim. At some point, I assume that he bit Carnage. You know, when
Everyone's
like Carnage
biting
had that
everyone like
big
goddamn vampires.
throbby red thing on him.
Yeah.
Holy
And, then,
sh-
and
The amount of
Shit.
times
Oh,
where I was
God.
like, is that his dick now?
what I wanted was for the cop to be leaning over like with the white eyes and be like, "That's not human blood," or some shit like that.
I've tasted blood before.
yeah.
This ain't it.
Weird. It doesn't matter. Anyway, he eats him, eats his head off. Screech is dead. And he's like, we got to go on the run. You know, Andy, it's been fun, but now we got to go on the run. And Venom's like, I'll just go by myself. And he's like, no, dude, we are Venom.
Tim and I
before
are
he
laughing
said-
at this point because it really truly feels like the Dark Knight moment of
Oh,
they're gonna hunt
oh
you
my God.
forever.
It was so funny. It was like the dumbest parody of the Dark Knight ending I've ever seen. Like it's because they were setting it up as if it was this epic moment, but they also weren't because like the music wasn't epic. Nothing about the cinematography was epic, but it felt beat for beat the exact same.
It was great. It was great.
Very weird. They end up going on the run and they go, I assume they go to a tropical island. Not quite sure where it was. I didn't catch it. And he's like, this is really nice. Like, it's really nice for you to come with me, Eddie. And he's like, thanks, man. And he's like, we're the lethal protectors
Thanks,
forever.
man.
He's like lethal protectors for life, bro. And then it ends. And then we get the post-credit scene where he's
That was
in-
one of the
and-
worst CGI jungle
was
like
bad.
palm trees. It would look so terrible.
And then we go to the hotel room, which is kind of a crappy hotel room that he's hiding out in. They're watching some soap operas and they're commenting on it. And then he brings up a very existential question. He's like, hey man, you don't even know half the shit I've seen. I'm tapped into the consciousness of all the symbiotes that came before me. And if I showed you even just a little bit of what the knowledge that we have on our planet, Kevin, you're muted. It'll blow your mind. It'll blow your mind.
No. I was waiting for
I
pause for you to
apologize.
talk.
Go for it.
First of all, they talk about hive minds. They're clearly not a hive mind.
They're not a hive mind.
Carnage had his own mind,
Totally own mind.
and we skipped it.
On the
but like,
planet, though. On the
What?
Venom planet.
but
there
like
is a hive
why?
mind.
But why would? Is there really? Is that how that works?
Yeah. It's part of the
And-
Null storyline.
It's like
Yeah.
Transformers. Kevin.
So because he's disconnected, because he's on a different planet, the signal can't go through. Anyways, also a thing that we missed is that Carnage is like, I have to kill my father.
Yeah, that was like, he's like, father.
I don't know
yeah.
why, but I
Yeah.
have to kill my father, and it was just like, oh man.
I forgot
Yeah.
about that. That was good.
Okay.
He's like, and then we can take
now
over the
in the
world.
comic books, the way the symbiotes reproduce is they lay an egg. So I'm happy we didn't have to see that.
Maybe he's gonna lay an egg down the throat like the aliens bust out later. Anyway, he's like, let me show you. Let me show you a little bit of the knowledge that I have from my home planet. And right as he's about to do that, the whole world shakes with probably a multiverse event. And then he finds himself in a nicer hotel room and he's watching the news. And who should we see? The dude from Whiplash. And he's got a funny wig on. And he's like, hey, Spider-Man is Peter Parker. And I'm like, I thought for a second, I was like, holy fuck, they're gonna just totally fuck this whole thing into the ground. It's gonna be Tobey Maguire. I was like, if it's fucking Tobey Maguire, that would be so confusing to me. My mind would explode, and I would put this movie at number one. But no, of course, it makes more sense. It was Tom Holland, and it's at the end of Far From Home, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? And then Ted comes in. He's like, what are you doing in my room? I'm Ted, and he goes,
Who's Ted?
I'm sorry, I gotta go. I don't know. I just made the character's name up. That dude that comes home in
okay.
shorts, and then he's like, bye, and that is it. That is Venom 2.
couple things I want to add on to for this post-credit scene is I would have thought it would have been cool. I mean, we have this and we'll see where it ends up, but I would have thought it would have been cool if they didn't do the multiverse shift and there was just the reveal on the TV of a similar thing of J. Jonah Jameson being like, oh, Spider-Man's revealed and it's Andrew Garfield. And then the Andrew Garfield Sony universe and the Venom universe are the same universe. I thought that would have been interesting, but they didn't go that route. Kev, talking about the hive mind stuff, like the one thing that is pretty cool MCU-wise is in the comics, the symbiotes kind of like on their planet, there is this hive idea of all of them kind of being connected, but then they branch out, do their own thing, and they disconnect from that. But it all goes back to the original one, which is this guy named Null, who's dope as fuck, and he has a sword. There's a sword that's called the Black Sword or some shit. It's essentially like the first symbiote ever, but it's like a weapon.
The all black.
And all black. That's what it's called.
And we'll probably see it.
And we're probably going to see it in Thor: God and Thunder because Gore, the God Butcher, uses that as a weapon. So I think that they might have been adding those lines just to kind of like build the mythology of that somewhat. And then I just want to put this on record that my prediction of how they're going to incorporate this at all is I don't think we're going to see Tom Hardy's Venom in No Way Home. I do think we will see him in the post credits of that movie, setting up a Sony Spider-Man Venom situation.
And that was the longest 90 minutes of my life. 7 syllables in the middle. You need 5 for the first and last line. If you're not poetic, no need to fret. And haikus don't need to rhyme. Haiku in review. Haiku in review.
Andrew Feisner writes into patreon.com/KindaFunny, just like you can, to write your review in haiku form, saying, first step, reunite. Slap Dan, save Ann, kill Cletus. Kevin's worst nightmare? Question mark. Robbie Robb says Cletus is a dick. Venom's out of the closet. I love you, Eddie. And then we got Nick Cash coming in hot. Venom is really good. Venom 2 is really good. Kevin's very wrong.
Oh.
Who was it so I can block him from any of our content?
Forever.
Nick Hash. Nick Hash. We got South Bay Adam saying Eddie Brock is back. Should have gone for our rating. Let there be carnage. And then OK Soda finally ends here with the credit scene and short runtime. It was still maximum yawnage.
Oh, nice.
Dang, that's good.
That's really good.
You'll love to see it. Love to see it.
Ragu.
Actually, I think Greg has this
Greg
list.
does this.
Yeah. Let's just put it at the end. Like, it doesn't matter, right?
I mean, Cletus, this is the end of the Marvel list, right?
Compared to this is the MCU. There's SSU or Sony Spider-Man universe.
Oof, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where they go.
I mean, but like, let's just think about the characters. Is there one that was worse than
We got
this?
Doc Ock. We got Venom. We got Venom. We got Green Goblin. We got Goose Egg McGillicuddy with the lizard.
Yeah, give me more than that. Give me more than that. Goose Egg.
Lizard. We got Lizard Face. We got Sandman. And who am I missing?
Oh, the other Venom.
The other
other Venom. Was this better than the
No.
other Venom in that crew? No.
I
This
like
is the
Topher
worst.
Grace's Venom. I think it makes more sense. It's much more sinister and a little. You want to talk about Topher Grace? That scene where the thing peels back and you see his like teeth and he's like, "I like the power, Eddie Murphy or whatever, Peter Parker." And he's like, "I like it," and it's like, "Oh man, the dude from that '70s show is fucking twisted right now." I love it. Let's go.
I don't know if I can agree with that, but I would probably put this at second to last, above those guys.
Okay, we'll put it second to last for now. We'll earmark
Well,
that.
I mean,
and
no.
we will circle
Where's the
back around
voting
quick.
system? Like, we could vote. We don't have to just do what.
But we don't know
We don't know
rankings,
who's
though.
last though. I would say
Well,
lower
we
on
do.
the list. Second last.
It's Spider-Man 3 villains.
Oh, really? Was it?
Last.
Oh, okay.
Venom, the new Goblin, and then Sandman.
Okay. Well,
I feel like Carnage was less entertaining.
I like
mean,
Woody
Carnage
Harrelson.
sucks.
See, my problem is I love Woody
and
Harrelson.
Shriek, huh?
I love Woody Harrelson though. That's my problem, right?
Yeah, but he
And I
wasn't
think
good in
that-
this. Like,
can't quit
none
him.
of this
That's my
was
problem.
like the.
But I keep thinking, Kevin, I'd love to go back and watch Zombieland 2. I only watched
Yeah.
it once, and that was a big mistake.
True
I
Detective
should watch it
season
again.
1.
True Detective
Oh.
season 1, great in that movie. Great in Cheers. So for that and that alone, I'd like to nominate him for number 1 on the list.
I think that this movie, while not good, and I thought that Carnage is probably the worst part of this movie in terms of being a letdown and disappointment. I still think that their take on Carnage, still giving him his backstory of really being a murderer and being evil, is more true to the comics and more true to the character than the Venom we saw in Spider-Man 3, and way better than the new Goblin situation we had with James Franco.
Sure, I'll take that. Oh, you remember when James Franco had amnesia for 60% of the movie, and then
Yeah, I
he suddenly
do.
remembered he's a
Yeah.
bad guy?
I do.
I don't know.
That's
I mean, I
great.
feel like Sandman still like was more interesting as a storyline.
I like Sandman.
Mhm.
I like
Yeah.
that Sandman.
He had better
Thought he did a great job.
motivations, yeah.
Yeah. His
Yeah.
daughter. He's like, my daughter's dying. I gotta fucking rob a bank, and I gotta dress like it's 1920.
So where are we
so now-
putting it?
Second.
Bring up
last.
the rankings.
All right.
Bringing up the rankings for the SSU, aka the non-MCU,
Here we
aka
go.
Sony
Let's get into
Spider-Man
it.
Universe in review. Whatever you want to call it, whatever makes you happiest.
Mhm.
Here.
Call it the Raimi verse.
Hold on.
Where
There,
is it?
there it is.
Give
Sorry,
us
a
sorry,
go.
sorry. There it is.
At number one, we have At number one, we have Into the Spider-Verse. Number two, we have Amazing Spider-Man 2. Number three, Amazing Spider-Man. Number four, Spider-Man 2. Number five, Venom. Number six, Spider-Man. Number seven, Spider-Man 3. And
We
then
were
number
on
eight.
crack when we put Venom at 5. What?
No, I mean
these
Spider-Man and Spider-Man 3 are all bad too.
I thought Amazing Spider-Man 2 was terrible, but it's whatever. This goes last for me. This definitely goes last for me. That's all I can really say.
I would say
I
yeah.
honestly enjoyed this one better than the first one. And enjoy is not the right word. I know that. I'm aware that that's not the right word.
They don't have a word in the English
Yeah.
language for what Kevin's feeling right now, but
Yeah.
the closest is enjoy.
So I guess I'd say 5. But I,
I
mean,
just
it's a
thought
bad
I
list.
think this one was less. I think the first one was less of a bad movie, and I thought that with bringing in somebody like Woody Harrelson, and it just really felt like there was no cohesion throughout any of the movie.
I'm gonna put this at dead last. Also, I would think. I just never want to think about this movie or watch this movie again. Where it was fun to go back and watch Spider-Man and Spider-Man 3, even though we had some critical thoughts on them. They at least had hype moments. At least I remember Spider-Man having a hype moment.
Yeah.
In this, I was like, this is a slog to get through some of these scenes where Eddie's fighting Venom in his own brain. I'm like, it's just not fun. There's just no fun in this movie whatsoever.
I had a ton of fun with this movie. That's definitely not my problem with it. I think that it is not good at all. This list gets complicated, not because we voted poorly, but just because these movies are weird and interesting and all have their own very different types of faults. I do think this is above Spider-Man 3. I don't feel right about putting it above Spider-Man 1, though. I think that this kind of misses the mark with Carnage, which is something I definitely wanted to see done right and something that I don't think is that difficult to get right. The post-credit scene was very exciting to me, but not necessarily for the right reasons. But I'll vote it at number 7.
Yeah, I'm
I
also the mindset that like I grade this with a bit of a curve because I feel like the early Raimi Spider-Man movies were kind of the blueprint for a lot of these, and by now filmmakers should know what it takes to make a good movie. There have been plenty of good superhero movies, and there's just no excuse for a movie to be this bad still.
Greg actually wrote me a post-it note of his thoughts for Venom 2, and it just says Nick is the smartest person at KindaFunny, so I will defer to him whatever he thinks is right from here going forward. Thank you.
I'm going to write everyone's vote down because since we are so split, we'll have to wait for Greg Miller to one day come in. Kevin, you are coming in at number 5. I'm coming in at number 7. Nick and Andy are both number 8, correct?
Correct. So we do need to know where Greg.
Greg would have said 8. Let me just say it right now. Greg thinks the Spider-Man, the Raimi trilogy, is a lot better than we did.
Not 3.
He's the best of us.
Not
He is
3.
the best of us.
Oh,
But
really?
he's
He
deferred
hated
that
3
to
too?
me.
He hates 3, yeah. So we'll have to see. We'll be back one day. We will return to this here Spider-Verse. I'm interested in a lot of things that are going to happen. What the fuck? When will we
Morbius,
next
dude.
see? We got Morbius, baby. January 28th, I think. Woo!
Christ.
Let us know how excited you are for Morbius, the living vampire, in the comments below. Until next time, I love you all so very, very much. Again, shout out to Carter Harrell and Cameron Kennedy for absolutely killing that intro that I hope we get to use so many more times because it brings me so much joy. Until next time, I love you all.
Thanks for swinging by.